Alright, I hope I'm back. Let me know if you can hear me. Again, I'm sorry about this interruption. Hard drive space was literally the only thing I didn't check before, and I'm continuously low on that. So I guess this is the first unexpected thing. Okay, it's back up, that's great. And thanks for the tip about how I should archive those on Twitch. Alright, let's continue with this. So I just copy pasted this whole bunch over from the zones. All this does is basically create the texture in which we will store the pollution data, and it creates the actual object in the scene so it can be displayed. Let's also copy the thing that gives us like that actually displays those tiles for us visually, so we can debug it a little easier. Yeah, basically I'm just copy pasting everything here. And now that we have those functions that create the data store and the textures, yeah, don't worry about the braces, I will close them. Now we can tell this tile data texture that we wanted to use these creation functions. Yeah, there needs to be more comments, I know. And the code in general is a terrible mess, but if I have time for that, I will edit soon. So I think that should already be enough in theory. It's really hard to concentrate while streaming. I hope you guys bear with me. So let's actually add this new module to the game. And call it when our game is started, which happens here. Let's start it around here. Now we call this init and add2, which we created earlier, and we're giving it the main scene so it can start to draw stuff. And yeah, as I said, it's really hard to focus, so let's just see if that initialization works at least. So as you can see, come on, load. I'm using the developer tools that are also included in Chrome, but we didn't get any exceptions, so at least our initialization seems to be working. So now what we will do next is to actually fill our data store with pollution data, which does some like dummy data. Like we could, for example, just even in this initialization pretend that we're painting inside this pollution map. And the way this works is we use this iterate function of the tile data texture, and we give this the coordinates of the area we want to paint in. So we say, okay, we will paint something and it will start here and it will end here. So kind of a box. and then it will give us all the tiles that are inside that area, and then we can take these tiles and paint inside those tiles. So maybe I had the idea earlier that I wanted to use this sketchpad. That works really great. So it's a bit easier to explain these kind of things. So yes, let me explain it better. So some of the lower video qualities don't seem to work, but I guess that will work soon again. So let me try to explain what we will do now. We will call this iterate function of the data array, and we will tell it, okay, we want to draw something in an area starting at this point, going to this point. So we will draw something inside this general box. And what this data function, what this tile data array will allow us to do is it will give us all tiles inside of this box, because we, as the user of this tile data texture, don't know how big the tiles are and how many of them are there. But this iterate function will tell us. And then for each of these tiles, let's say we want to draw like a circle over here, and for each of these tiles we will then draw the part in this tile, and then we will draw the part in this tile, and we will draw the part in this tile, and then we will draw the part in this tile. And this is how this kind of tile data texture will work. So let's maybe just for the beginning try to paint a 100 by 100 meter block of pollution in the middle of the map. So what we will have to do is we will give iterate 4 coordinates. So minus 50 meters in the x direction, minus 50 meters in the y direction, plus 50 meters. Again, load this space warning. Maybe I should even go as far as to delete the movie I created earlier, or I will move it to my other hard drive. I'm sorry about this, guys. Let me quickly move this over here so we have more hard drive to use as extended RAM. Comments in the future. Stream crashed, what? No. Yeah, it will probably be lagging now. I guess I can quickly close the game while I'm doing that. I'm sorry about this, guys. I should have figured out the whole local recording thing before. At least the music is good. Open Broadcaster software was even more unstable and laggy. Yeah, I hope the misframes will be over now that I have space on this hard drive again. Alright, that was weird. So let's continue, shall we? So I was talking about how we will paint some test data into our pollution map. And I said that, okay, if these are our coordinate axes, so x and y, that we will paint something in the area of -50 to 50 and just fill it in completely. So we will do that, but we can't just use the coordinates like this, because we will have to map it to the actual pixels of the pollution map, because remember, each pixel of the pollution map is 10 meters big. So if we want 50 meters to get to the number of pixels, we will have to divide those numbers by our pollution map resolution. Yes, I'm sure copy and pasting is a bad sign in programming, but this is the first time I copy and paste this particular piece of code, which means that I will now be able to see exactly which parts are reused, which makes it really easy for me to see what parts I will be able to refactor out in the future. So that's kind of how I do it for Citybound. Just do stupid copy and pasting, and then it will be obvious which parts are reused, and then write something nicer for that. Yes, I will also use proper version control soon. I will use git soon, but so far it hasn't really been necessary. Alright, so now we know the kind of general area in which we want to paint something, and then we give iterate something else, which will be a callback function. So we tell this tile data texture, hey, we want to paint somewhere in this area, please give us all the tiles that are inside there. And what iterate will then do is it will call this function that we're now creating for each tile. And for each tile we get the actual data array that we can save data in. We get a reference to our data texture, which is kind of the visual object that is displaying our data. We get the information how big the tile is in actual pixels. And then we get the coordinates of this particular tile. So we know, for example, this tile here, we know exactly where it starts and where it ends. So this is the top left corner in texture coordinates are these two coordinates here. Bottom right corner are these two coordinates. And right now let's not even think about exactly where we want to paint, but let's just paint the whole thing. So what we will do is we will take our data array, which we get for this tile, and the data array is kind of a linear representation of our 2D map. So let's just delete everything here. So we are now inside one particular tile, and we want to paint, say, this point. And of course the tile is this two-dimensional texture, but it is actually stored as this one-dimensional data storage, and so on. And the way it works is that the texture is divided into individual lines. So this is line 1, 2, 3, and so on. And this is stored just linearly in memory. So here we have line 1, 2, 3. So maybe the pixel that we want to draw is something in around line 7. And it has an x coordinate of, let's say, 5. And our total width is, let's say, 20. Then to get the position of this particular pixel in our linear memory, we have to calculate its one-dimensional position, and this would be like the one-dimensional position would be 7 times 20, because it's in the 7th line, and then we add our X offset 5. I hope that makes sense to you guys. I'm glancing over chat. If you're completely lost about my explanations, let me know. Otherwise I will just continue rambling on. So now we will actually do that for each point in the data array. Or let's try something more interesting. Instead of filling the whole tile, let's try filling only 1/2 of a tile, so we have something nice and visual that we can see. So let's try filling that half of each tile. So first we iterate over all X positions in the texture that we have. Sorry, 0. This X is now relative to the tile, so we don't even have to worry about this world coordinates of the tile. We just have to make sure that this X is smaller than our tile in pixels. So what this does is basically it walks over all the X's. And then around that, actually I now noticed that I did it the wrong way around. On that, let's walk over each line. Alright. So what these things do is this walks over all lines, and then this walks over each pixel in each line. So now we're walking over all the pixels in this particular tile. And now we can actually write into our data array at this position. And as I wrote down here, we have to take the line that we're in. So the line that we're in is the Y coordinate times the size of our tile width, plus the X offset, and then we will get the one-dimensional position inside this here. And finally, if we're done with this, we let basically we let 3JS know that we changed something and it needs to update the display of this. Oh, sorry, I'm totally distracted. Of course, we have to set this to a value, so let's just set it to 1. And then we tell 3JS that we changed something, and this last parameter true here means that if this tile doesn't exist yet, we actually want to create a new tile. Alright, so let me think in theory if that should work. I think it should. Let's see what happens. We will display this data in the same way that we displayed zones. But we can see nothing works, but we can at least find out what doesn't work. Tile meshes is not defined, line 46. We didn't, yeah. Case in point, I guess, for not copy pasting code. We're not actually using that here. I could explain what this was about, but it doesn't really matter. And okay, so this happened, and yes, we drew 50 by 50 meters and completely filled it, and this seems to work. So let's try doing something more interesting, actually what I told you about, and only fill half of each of these tiles. So we add a condition here. If x is smaller than half of the width of this tile, only then should we write 1 to it. So now if we reload, we see that yes, only half of the tile gets written to. And yeah, I'm just using exactly the same shader as for zones. So it basically thinks now, I should draw this as agricultural zone, that's why it's brown. We will customize that pretty soon. Actually, we can probably do that next, because we now know, okay, we can write to our pollution map and it works. Count on the computer blue screen of deathing. Yes, I hope it won't happen. So far it's doing great. So now let's continue how this is actually rendered. We maybe don't want to render pollution exactly like industrial zone, of course. So at the moment you can see here that we're just reusing the zone shader, but now we will create a new shader. Let's call that pollution fragment shader. And what a fragment shader is, I will explain in a second. Let's open up the zones fragment shader. Exactly. This is kind of super confusing, don't even try to think about it. It's also pretty messy. I will just rewrite the fragment shader for pollution from scratch. Alright, so let me try what a fragment shader is. Basically now, what we have is, we have this one-dimensional data store, and we can write to it on the CPU in JavaScript, but of course we also want to display our pollution map on the graphics card, so we have to send it to the graphics card and then tell the graphics card how to display it. And we will do that again for each tile. And the way it works is, we send the graphics card this 1D representation of one tile. And we give it some geometry to draw to. So we tell it, okay, we want to draw to this tile geometry that you saw earlier. It's divided into 2 triangles. And then we will give it what's called oh, it's terrible to write like this. Let me actually try using the text tool. We will use what's called a fragment shader. What font is this? I will just use like shorthands. We will give it a fragment shader program to the graphics card. And in this program we tell it how to look into this 1D data, or actually 2D data, and how to paint the pixels inside our geometry based on that. So what the graphics card will get, it won't actually get a 1D file. The graphics card is smart enough to interpret this as a 2-dimensional texture. So what the graphics card actually gets is a 2-dimensional texture of our pollution map. At the moment it looks like this. And what happens then is, and this is just what fragment shaders do, for each screen pixel of this geometry that we're looking at, we execute this fragment shader program and we look up one particular pixel in the 2D texture that we send. I don't know if that's like super confusing, if that's like a convoluted explanation. I'm just trying my best to do live here. So let me know if this is actually helping you understand what's happening. Yes, you actually have to tell the GPU what to display. And let's just do that now. So here we will write in a different language. It's called GLSL. It's kind of similar to C. and we will write a shader program, and you always start with this kind of main function. Doesn't really mean anything. This is just this. Everything that's inside this main function will be executed for every screen that's visible on screen, for every pixel that's visible on screen. And we get something that's called VUV. And what this VUV is, it's basically the position inside the geometry we're currently drawing to the screen. So I think I should maybe create a new drawing for that. I don't know if you expected watching me drawing and explaining lots of stuff, but that's what's happening now, I guess. So again, here we have our geometry in our three-dimensional world, and this is like our computer monitor. And of course, this has like its x and y, oh, sorry, x and y coordinates on the screen of each pixel. And now we want to draw this pixel, and we know that the geometry is below it. Inside our fragment shader, the graphics card, or like the 3D system, is actually so nice that it doesn't just tell us the coordinates of this pixel on the screen. So these would be the screen coordinates, but it also tells us the position inside the mesh. So this is what we call U and V coordinates. And we can use that to find out which pixel to draw. So let's just give this a little more understandable name. Let's call this lookup position. And in GLSL, we have to actually tell the graphics card what kind of values we're dealing with. So here we're dealing with a two-dimensional vector, again for the U and V coordinates. And we just set that equal to this very special VUV that we get from outside. Then we actually want to get a color. So we say, let's define a new color. We just call it color. And for that we use something called texture 2D, which is basically a function that we give a coordinate, a U and V coordinate, and it gives us the color of this pixel inside a special texture. Let me read the chat a little bit. Yeah, some of you are noticing that there's not really any 3D happening because we just have two coordinates, but the library I'm using for 3D basically handles that for us, that it converts the 3D coordinates in our world into the 2D coordinates on screen, so we don't have to worry about that. So let's actually find out what color the pixel at this position VUV has. And for that we have to tell it two things. First, which texture we want to look it up in, and we don't actually get that. We don't actually have that represented here yet. So this is something called a uniform. We call it pollution data texture. So uniforms are things, it's a texture, the name for texture in this language is Sampler 2D. Uniform are things that that the graphics card is given from the CPU. So we will give this to the graphics card later. This is our pollution data texture, and we actually want to look up the color of the pixel at the position lookup position. That is also our VUV. Okay, so now we have the color at this particular in a tile, and let's just try something very simple, like if there is pollution, so it's, let's say if the pollution is greater than 1, we will just display it completely black. If there's nothing, we just leave it blank. So we say that we have a, sorry, that should be a vector 4, because there are 4 components to a color. A color has red, green, blue, and alpha. Red, green, blue are the colors, of course. Alpha tells us how transparent something is. But what we get out of our pollution data texture is actually just one value, because it's pollution is just like black and white. So we are actually only interested in one part of this color. That's actually called it pollution, and this is just, let's take the no, we have to take the alpha component, like here, yes, because we pretend that our pollution map is actually a colorful image, and we save the pollution inside the alpha channel. So now we finally have on the graphics card the pollution at this particular point in the tile. And now we just say, okay, if the pollution is bigger than 0, we want this point on the monitor to be just completely black. And here we will have to use kind of a magical word again, that's called glFracColor. And glFracColor basically just means this pixel on the screen, which color should it have. And it should have the color. Colors are again 4-dimensional vectors. No red, no green, no blue, but full alpha, so it's just pitch black. If there is no pollution, it should also be black, but it should be completely transparent. So we also need to declare that our, do we have to do that? I don't actually think so. Yes, we have. We also have to say that we are interested in getting VUV here, and we do it like this. Alright, and this should be enough for our shader program. Let's actually go back to our pollution JavaScript file and say that we want to use this. So we no longer want to display it like a zone, but we actually want to use our new pollution fragment shader. Yes. Let's see if this works. We don't see anything because we, I know why. Because here we still, and this is again what you get by copy pasting, we have to, in order to get the pollution data from the CPU to the GPU, we actually have to give it the same name. So here we are calling it zone data texture, which is of course old. Here we're calling it pollution data texture, and that's why it isn't working. Yeah, copy pasting that was horrible. Let's replace that first. Then here, of course, we also want to use pollution map resolution. I'm sorry about this. For now it will just be a solid color on the map, but maybe we can render it in a nicer way. Let's just do it step by step. Alright, this is always hard to debug. Let's just try drawing it completely pitch black first to see if we're not doing something stupid. Yes, this works. So we don't get the right color out of that yet. Let me think about why that is. because okay, this is a little stupid, but here in JavaScript we have to write the colors as values between 0 and 255, but in our graphics card we will actually get it as values between 0 and 1. So let me write that down. Colors on the CPU 0 to 255, but on the GPU they automatically get converted to values between 0 and 1. So if I say here no wait, but that should still make sense. Sorry, I'm a little bit confused here. I hope you guys bear with me, and I hope you're not bored to death. Maybe let me try to go at this for another 20 minutes, then we can do another Q&A session, but it would be nice to actually get this going. It doesn't work because GLSL always wants the right types. Yes, now it's working. Oh, finally. No, color A isn't always bigger 0. So now it was actually just a syntax error in the shader. Now that that's working, let me actually open the window a bit because it's like getting stupidly hot inside here. If the road is too loud, let me know, but I need some fresh air. So now let's try to think of something a little more interesting than just pitch black. What color do you think pollution should be displayed as? We could use brown, we could use some like icky green. I'll leave it up to you. Or maybe let's just decide together. Here we can use this color palette. What kind of color do you want the pollution to have? Black? Gray? Red? This was a terrible idea. Brown? Green? Okay, I like that idea. Fade green to brown because it will actually look interesting. So green would be something like this, right? And then brown would be basically the same thing, but yeah, less green, more red. So okay, let's first try to do the extremes. So the extreme would be like dark brown, right? So let's try to get that right first. We want mostly red, let's say 0.8 for red, a little bit of green, maybe like that, and no blue. Let's see what that looks like. Oops. Okay, this is brown, but it's way too bright, so we need less of those colors. I think yeah, let's keep green and let's add a little more blue so it will get more desaturated. Now it's pink, that's bad. Yes, we're getting there. Less of these colors. Too much saturation. Let's have even less red, less green, even less blue. I think more green. yeah, how's that for some like really thick pollution? So this would be kind of the worst pollution. So now to get the actual gradient, yeah, we will also use transparency, I guess. Why not use a converter, because I just have more fun guessing the colors. So now for the gradient to work, we actually, let's just not write like completely the worst kind of pollution, but like different values. So here you see we always write like pollution 1. Actually the biggest one would be 255. So let's change it to that, and let's change that to pollution that is bigger than 0.7. It should still look the same. Yes. So now let's try maybe let's try having like a linear gradient. So in each tile on the right side, for example, there's no pollution, on the left side there's maximum pollution. So in order to do that, we will write a value here that depends on x. So let's do math.floor, because we only want integer values. We say x divided by tile width. So we now have a value from 0 to 1 over the width of this thing, and we multiply that by 255. Let's see what that looks like. Yes, now we see we have like pollution increasing from 0 here to 255 here, or from 0 here to 1 here. And we said in our shader that we want to display the dark brown for pollution that is bigger than 0.7. So now let's try something a little more intelligent. Let's try varying the individual color values according to our coordinate, according to the pollution. So let's say, let's just try to do this very stupidly. If the pollution is worse, we want more red, so let's just multiply that by pollution. If the pollution is worse, we want less green, so let's multiply that by 1 minus pollution, and we'll just keep the blue right. 1 minus pollution. Let's see what that looks like. Pretty funky, I guess. Okay, now we have like green to red. That's interesting. We have the linear gradient, but not between the colors we want yet. So I think we will have to do something a little more intelligent here. I think what we actually want to do is not to do this in red, green, blue color space, but to do it in, what is it called, in HSV color space. So let me actually open Wikipedia, because the problem is it's very hard to kind of interpolate between two colors using just RGB, and we want to be able to that's like bad quality. No, it was alright. We want to be able to do something like interpolate linearly both the hue of the color and the saturation, but we can't really do that easily with RGB, so we will do it with HVS instead, and HVS is hue, value, saturation, and then interpolate our colors there and just convert to RGB. Luckily I already have this in the fragment shader for cars, and again we will just use stupid copy and paste. Actually for shaders we have to do that because we can't make like libraries for shaders. So what this HSV to RGB function will do is we will be able to give it a color not in RGB but in hue, saturation and value, and it will output for us the color in RGB. Now this is some kind of magic, I don't even know exactly how it works, but we can use it. So let's try just to create a brown again using HSV. So hue 0 is around, hue 0 is at red, so we want like maybe, let's say 15 or 30 degrees, so that would be as a value between, let's try like 0.1 as our hue, so the hue goes around the circle. Saturation we want not that much, maybe 0.5. Yeah, I should create my own Pantone color. And value something like, let's say 0.6, and full alpha. Let's see what that looks like. Yes, that's an even lighter brown. Why? I think the game just froze. Yeah, or did it? I should maybe kill it. Let's kill the game. I don't know why that happened. Sometimes it still happens. Alright. Sorry game, I had to kill you. Let's restart the game. Yeah, that's some nice brown. So we will just comment that and save that as a comment. Now let's try to make our nice green for no pollution. So that would be around a third through the circle, I guess. Yes, exactly a third. Pretty saturated and also pretty bright. Let's see if this is the green that we want. Yes, that's a pretty nice green. Maybe a little bit too strong, we can make it even lighter, a little less saturation. Alright. Yes, we will do a pulsating blobby cloudy outline later even. So now let's try to do our interpolation again. So let's create individual variables because otherwise I will go crazy. So our hue has a base value of 0.33 for green, and then depending on how much pollution we have, so if we have more pollution we will subtract more from that color, up until when we have full pollution we will subtract 0.23, so we get 0.1. Saturation, we want to go from 0.6 to 0.1, so just a little bit. And value, which is basically brightness, we want to go from 0.9 to 0.6, so pollution times 0.3. Yes, I know I should keep code and data separate. In shaders we can't really do that because they completely live on the GPU, but we could use uniforms for all of these color values, but for now I will just implement it in this quick and hacky way. So now let's actually use this here, see what it looks like. Alright, and now we actually have a nice gradient between green and brown. So yeah, let's maybe take a quick break. I don't know, how do you guys feel? Do you want to do a quick Q&A session, or should I just continue with this here? Just let me know. Yeah, I will also do a bathroom break, so don't worry. Or I will at least get some new water. Continue. Alright, seems like most people want to see more coding, but I will do a Q&A and then we'll continue. Coding with larger font size, no problem. Let me increase the font size. Is this better? Why would there be a chair in front of a sofa? Because the sofa is too far away, I can't do my programming from there. What software do I use? This text editor is called Sublime Text. Even bigger font size, I just increase it. Let me know if it's better now. It's Sublime Text 3. Alright, so just another second and then we can continue. I will do Q&A later, so please hold your questions so far. Alright, so now that we filled our pollution map with some dummy data and display it in the way we want, let's actually make it possible to create sources of pollution that are kind of circular in shape. So here in our pollution module, we'll add a new function and we'll call that add pollution. And what does it expect? It expects a point at which we want to add the pollution, a radius of how big the pollution should be, and let's see, a parameter that tells us how bad the pollution is. So let's call that amount. This should be colon. So we will use this iterate function again, but now we will have to do something a little more complicated, because we don't just have to draw like a gradient, but we have to draw an actual circle. But the first part will be the same, because I don't know, do I still have that somewhere? No, I guess not. Because first we will have to tell it again which tiles will be interesting. So this will of course be point x minus radius, point y minus radius, point x plus radius, and point y plus radius. So these will be the tiles that will be affected by adding our circular pollution. Oh, my face is on the lines, that's stupid, I'm sorry. I should watch this preview more. cars will be adding pollution eventually, but today we will just add pollution from buildings. Because now we actually have to think about which pixels in the tile we want to draw to. So let's add everything around it. So let me think. Here we get the texture coordinates of this tile, and we first need to convert these into world coordinates so we can compare it to our point that is given. What is it? Is the stream doing stupid stuff? Stream lags, what is it? I don't see any dropped frames on my end. It froze. Is the stream good again? Let me know if the stream works again. Alright. I don't know what that was. Okay. So now let's convert these kind of coordinates of our tile that we're drawing in back into world coordinates. So let's maybe call that world min x, and let's create a bunch of them. We of course need world min y, world max x, and world max y. And this will be, let's do some Sublime Text magic here. This will be lowercase at a t. So we take our texture coordinates, and let me think, these will be 10 times too small, because each pixel is 10 meters. Remember here our pollution map resolution is 10. So in order to convert the pixel coordinates back to world coordinates, we have to multiply each of these by 10, or by our pollution map resolution. And now we can ask, okay, we now have this, we can now iterate over, we can now first iterate over all the pixels inside this tile again. So our y, and for clarity I will name that ty. Ty will go from 0 to tile map width. So this is now our relative, let me actually just call it y. This is our relative pixel position inside the tile, the y coordinate, and let's add the x coordinate. So, whoops, x. Wait, I didn't need that, that didn't make sense. Let's just uncomment that, I don't think we even need that. We just, yeah. So we now have our relative x and y coordinates, so now we can get, sorry, that was just confusing. Is x plus min tx times the pollution map resolution. Yeah, we don't need to worry about these bounding positions here at all. So for each pixel in the tile, we convert its relative pixel position to a world position. and then we check if that now point in the world is within our pollution radius. So yeah, let's just do it this way. If and let's write that as a vector. World point, I guess, new 3. Yeah, what is it? Vector 2. World X, world Y. If world point, and now I'm just using 3JS vector operations, distance to our point where we want to add the pollution. If the distance between them is smaller than our pollution radius, then for the first thing, let's just draw completely polluted area. Okay, so let's try that out. What point does that make sense? And yeah, we don't want to create a whole bunch of vectors inside these loops here. This is kind of a JavaScript thing. So let's just reuse this. So we just have one vector object for the whole function. Slowly I'm getting used to coding and streaming and commentating at the same time. I hope you guys aren't super confused by yet. Especially the guys just tuning in. Don't worry, we will do some Q&A soon, but I want to do some more coding here. Alright, let's see if that works at all. Whoops, no, don't start Photoshop. No, no, kill it, kill it. Kill Photoshop, no, no, no. In process, yes. I don't think my PC could handle that, even though we tested it earlier. Alright, let's start it, see what it looks like. Well, it still looks like that because we didn't use our add pollution function yet, so let's get rid of that, maybe keep it for reference as a comment, and actually call pollution, add pollution, add just the center of the map, vector 2, so center of the map would be, whoops, would be 0, 0 in world coordinates. Let's use a radius of, again, 50 meters. And amount doesn't matter yet, let's just use like whatever. Yeah, let's just use 1 because we don't really read the amount. Let's see what it looks like if it works. Doesn't work. Why? Come on, load this quicker. Undefined is not a function. 78. Why? Add pollution. Why is this not the function? I don't get it. That's strange. What am I doing wrong? If I use X. Oh, the color scheme, by the way, is not Monokai, it's a custom color scheme that I made. Vector 2, where? Oh, vector 2, thanks. Thanks, that's the problem. Actually, thanks Hamzi for the bug fix. Let's try again. What is the problem here? Cannot set property X. Undefined. Y 95. World point. New. See, that's the problem when you're programming and commentating at the same time. You miss like the most basic things. So okay, what happened here? There were tiles created, most of them have no pollution. Here we can see a little bit of pollution, but several things are wrong. First, the radius is way too small because we forgot to multiply by 10 at some point. Then you can see the shader inverted the y coordinate. And I think that's something that we have to do manually, so let's try doing that first. If we... Yes, in our fragment shader for the pollution map, we have to change our lookup position. We're just taking VUV as it comes in, but the problem with that is, and I also had it in the past, that the y coordinate is flipped compared to what I actually want. So what we will do is just flip it manually, VUV.x and minus VUV.y. And now the circle should at least be in the middle. No, why not? Or wait. Or was it the... Wait, why is that not working? Yeah, this also to me feels like code review. Is it the x coordinate that's flipped? No. Wait, why is that not changing anything? Let me compare it to the zone fragment shader. Here we use lookup position. Not minus, but of course 1 minus, yes. Now it should work. Yes, we have our circle in the middle at the right position where we want it, but of course we want it to be bigger. And the problem is that our radius is now interpreted as pixels. So, no, but... Okay, here it should be divided by the pollution map resolution, because we want to give the radius in meters, not in pixels, right? Now, what else do we want to do? What position Y? But if I give both, what did I even use as a radius? 50, right? But that's not 50, is it? Like if we draw a road. This could actually be 50 meters. But it's just much smaller than I thought. Yeah, this looks... No, this is not 50 meters. This is 10 times too small. This is like 5 meters. Let me think about that. I'm curious, how many viewers are we actually at? Oh, it doesn't work. Does it? Meanwhile, let me think about why the radius is wrong, or at least looks wrong to me. Oh, still 156 viewers. That's great. I'm glad to have you all here. I hope you, at least most of you, are interested in this. Why is this not working? Why is the radius off? So let me actually set this to 50 meters and then we will see if this touches just the corners of the... No, that's completely... the radius is wrong. So intuitively I would multiply this here by the pollution map resolution, but I don't know why it makes sense. This looks more like 50 meters. Okay, something weird is going on here. We have to point. Right, I'm confused actually. Let's remove that because I don't have a good reason to do it. So it now looks like this. Sorry, I have to compare it to the zones thing and what I'm doing over there. So yes, I'm what's this? So here I'm just doing it by hand. But it should work anyways. Yeah, I'm looking for debug. Suggestions in the chat. Why is this so complicated? Let me think about this. I'm glad you can still enjoy the stream. Alright, let's just increase it by 10 here and see if that actually changes anything or if I'm just stupid. So yeah, this changes anything. It looks like it actually is 50 meters. No, this could even, no, I think it's even right. I think it's not even wrong. I think this is 50 meters. We can just so let's draw a lane like this and then just look up how long that lane is. Easy, right? Lanes. So here we have the only two lanes that exist. Length is 100 meters, so our radius is 50, and I'm just dumb and thought it was supposed to be bigger. But something is off, and that is the position. The position is off. The position is off by a factor of 10. I shouldn't multiply here, but why? I guess because, let me think about that. Because I will have to look up how I implemented the data texture, but I think yes, these are already so our min coordinates are already in world coordinates or not? No, I don't think so. Am I planning to obfuscate the tool when I release? I think only the engine code, not the game code itself, because I want it to be moddable. So the game code won't be obfuscated. Whoops. Does that make sense? Sorry, I will just have to try around a little because I can't concentrate enough to actually reason about this in a logical way while streaming. So I will have to do explorative programming, the best kind of programming. So this didn't change anything, so I think I only have to... Okay, let's just try. Let's add several points of pollution and then see. Let's add one at the center of the map. Let's add one at 50-50 and at 100-100 and see what that looks like. I mean, in theory... What the hell? In theory they should touch each other. Yes, that looks about right. Okay, but something about our tiles is completely wrong. This is more like coding and Q&A at the same time. Yeah, I hope it is. Well, how about let's try to fix this here for another 7 minutes, then I will do some more Q&A and then I will just continue programming. Because I actually think we can get this pollution thing to kind of a finished state today. Okay, so these... So yeah, this obviously is wrong here. Whoops. I think we have to... Yeah, we have to take both of these. Times the pollution of resolution. By the way, I'm interested how many of the viewers are actually programmers themselves, how many would like to become programmers, and how many are just completely not interested in that. Let me know, that would be interesting. Alright, so now at least what I see makes sense. We have 3 circles. Yeah. You love the goose game, that's awesome. Kinda programmer here, awesome. I actually thought that a lot of people would be. So just to be sure, let's add another point of pollution really far out. So just let's add one at like 2 kilometers in both directions. That's interesting to see. So, oh wow, this is 2 kilometers, so let's make it even further out, like 8 kilometers. Yeah, so now we have like a couple points at the center and one at 8 kilometers. I just wanted to check and make sure that it creates the tile at the right position, but it seems to work. So now let's try actually with bigger radiuses what that looks like, and then let's make the pollution not kind of like a hard block like it is now, but actually fuzzy. So come on, let's make it 10 times as big. So now we have these huge blobs, and let's give like a little more random coordinates so they're not all at the same place. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah. Yeah, I also, LM92 is asking if I also study computer science at TU in München, and I do. And yes, we are all nerds, I'm proud. Alright, let's see how much. 4 more minutes. Let's try okay, let's say we want to have differing amounts, and first let's just paint. I mean, right now we're painting full pollution, but let's create actually a radial gradient of pollution. Let's try doing that. So we will have kind of let's first do our distance to point, or let's call point actually center. That would be a little more descriptive. distance to center is this here. And let's call that like attenuated amount maybe, and multiply distance divided by radius times the amount times 255, and then we should now get a nice gradient of pollution. Let's see. It worked, but exactly the wrong way around, so it's worse on the outside, bad on the inside. Let me think. Distance to center. Yes, we have to of course turn it around, so 1 minus that should give us the right thing. Yes, and now we have these linear gradients, but we see that they actually overwrite each other, and of course we don't want the pollution to overwrite each other but to add to each other. So let's do that. So instead of equal here, we say, yeah, we just add to it. And no, let's actually write that in a more roundabout way. We take the value that is already at that position and we add to it, but we don't want it to go over 255, so we will use math minimum 255 and this here. So now it shouldn't overwrite each other anymore, but it should add to each other, yes. So now here we have this kind of huge blob of pollution, and on the top here we just have the single blob of pollution. And this already looks pretty nice. I think this is a great point to take a short break and do some Q&A, and later we can continue. Also, yeah, let me know how you like it so far and start thinking about questions. So now you have my full attention again. When I reload, what is it actually doing? Well, the whole game is basically a website running inside a browser, and when I reload, it's literally reloading that web page, and it loses all of the state of the city if I don't use the save game feature, but it just restarts the game in a new city basically. Am I or am I not in love with Mario Götze? I mean, as a German, of course I am. He made the essential goal for the World Cup. Have I looked at Pixie.js? Yes, I think so, but let me reopen that link to remember what it was. Wow, what? Their page seems to be... oh, because that's not the actual URL. So Pixie.js is only for 2D, I guess. So I can't use that, but it might be nice if you want to do 2D games and want that to be accelerated with WebGL. Let me see what else. What contract work do I do on the side? Basically web development. How do you think performance will be when you simulate a large-scale city? Do you think JavaScript is still sufficient for that? Based on what I've seen so far, it might be possible to do really large cities in JavaScript because most of the performance bottlenecks, as I said earlier before I started the stream, are due to my ignorance and can be fixed by implementing everything using smarter algorithms. If I had a ceiling that is due to JavaScript, I will consider switching to other technologies, of course, but until then JavaScript is a great prototyping language. Do you allow code reviews from other devs? Yes, I think I will do code reviews pretty soon with some of my friends. Actually, one of them is in the chat here, Balgorn. He's a good friend of mine. And they will get to do code reviews with me and will probably be terrified of the code quality that, quick and dirty code quality that I've been using so far. But I think that will be fun. Why did I create the Goose game? Basically, it was a Christmas present for my family. You will be able to change colors, or there will be a... actually, colorblind people can't distinguish brown and green as well, right? Because they only are different in the red channel. So I will have to think about this. How much longer are you streaming for? I don't know. I thought this would be way more tiring. I feel pretty good. Will you stream Distracted Goose? Why the hell not? Let's do a quick game. Let's see how well I am while I answer these questions. AS Reiter, was meinst du mit die Ankündigung auf Twitch war etwas kurz? How much will the game cost? A rough estimate. So during early access in alpha it will be around $6, then when it gets to something that I will call beta it will be $10, and finally something like $20. These are my estimates. Any plans on regions? No, first I will focus on just gameplay in one city, but the area will be huge. So you can maybe even have region gameplay just inside one. I shouldn't play this game and try to answer questions at the same time. You will have region play just with one city plot, I hope. And yeah, people, please, if I answered a question earlier, please just answer it for me in chat. No, I can't do both at the same time. I'm sorry. What do you think of C# or C++ in terms of game development? I mean, they're great for native speed when you need it, but they also are much more verbose, and the kind of bugs that you have to debug are take much more time in my experience. That's why I enjoy programming in a really high-level language like JavaScript right now. Yes, I know there are different types of color blindness, but I guess the green-brown thing is particularly bad for red-green colorblind people. I will do a colorblind version, not for an extra sum of money, it will just be included with the game itself, but yeah. Oh, we've been streaming for 2 hours, not bad. So AS Reiter asked me in German earlier that my announcement for the stream came too early. I guess the problem was that my decision to do the stream was really spontaneous, so next time I of course will notify you earlier that there will be a stream. Auto Time Lord, I should ask like in a less open-ended way. Yes, that's probably true, but for that I would have to prepare more for the stream. I didn't do that almost at all because it's my first time and I have no idea how to do this. But in the future I will try, if I want to leave decisions to you or get specific feedback, I will try to narrow it down more. Wait here, CRF Strivaryu, what did you actually ask? I think I just missed your questions. I think you didn't actually post your question. Just post your question. Is alpha for purchase? No. Nope. But you can donate, and if you donate more than $6 via PayPal, you will receive the alpha when it's done, but don't really see it as a pre-order, just kind of as a bonus if you donate. Will there be something like a map creator? Probably. I mean, the maps will be procedural, but maybe you will also be able to manually paint maps with resources and stuff like that. What age restriction will the game have? Well, I guess something pretty low. I mean, there will be probably accidents, but not very brutal ones. But I don't know what the hell mods will implement, so maybe it will be... Maybe the mods will be 18 plus. Will you update the alpha until it's the full game like Minecraft? Yes, that's exactly the plan. How chill are you in real life? Just like you see me now, I'm pretty much... I feel like I am also in other situations. Can you please do a quick let's play of a current version, like 5 minutes? Yeah, I guess I will do that later on in the stream when we have the pollution done. Do you own a beer stein? No, I don't actually. What about a railroad system? There will be one eventually. How will railroads work? Well, kind of like roads work now. I mean, I have this whole fancy lane system, and rails will just be another instance of that. Will there be subways? Yes, probably, or pretty sure, but I don't know when I have time for that. Will you model small-scale disease outbreaks? Yeah, that would be interesting as a disaster, and it would actually be interesting because it forces you to have a functioning health system. So as soon as I implement something like a health system, that would be nice. Why not use C++? I said that earlier. JavaScript is a much higher level language to program in. Everything is much quicker to write, and I have this rapid iteration cycle of just changing the code, reloading the browser, and using the new code. I can actually even use the hot code swapping feature of Chrome to change the code while the game is running. How will the updates delivery work? Probably first it will be really stupid, like emails, please download the new version. Then when I have time I will implement something like an auto updater. Will you be able to call your city a name? Yes. Yes, there will be an economy, but the player won't have direct control over it. Rather, he will just paint the zones, provide the infrastructure, and then all the businesses and farms and inhabitants will have to deal with the economy and resources. Highways, yes. How long you planning to go on? I don't know, I feel pretty well, maybe another 2 hours. Yes, there will be tunnels. And as writer, please try to ask questions in English. Water lakes, yes. Do you have an idea how density wealth evolution work? Like what? So density evolution, I mean, there will basically be a system of attractivity for example, residential. So at each point in the map, each point in the map has a certain attractivity rating that is based on like positive factors like education, closeness to commercial, and negative factors like pollution, what we implement today. And then based on that attractivity, new buildings will be built there. And actually old buildings, like smaller buildings, will only be replaced by bigger buildings if the attractivity is so high that the builder of the new building wants to afford demolishing the old buildings and building a new building. So if you've got like crazy growth going on, and really attractive places in your city that only are low density, and you allow higher density, that will be when smaller buildings will be replaced by bigger buildings. Are there going to be emergency vehicles? Yes. Will trains keep a schedule on specific routes? I think, yeah, a lot of people ask this kind of question. The player will be able to set routes, I think, but the schedules will be determined automatically. Spaceships, maybe as a disaster or a mod. Good question, Outer Time Ward. What are my personal goals for the first release? Roads should completely work, so you should have multi-lane roads and intersections to be able to sustain big cities. Zoning, of course, should work with different densities, and there should be building models for different densities. The resource system should work completely, so you have a functioning economy, and actually cars will travel to transport resources, and there should be interaction, or even more detailed interaction than there is now, with neighboring cities. I think this is kind of the scope I want to have for the first release. So you kind of build a city, lay it out, let it grow. You have to take into account the economy and the kind of needs that your city has. There probably won't be money yet. There won't be services yet. Yeah, that's kind of the scope for the very first playable version. But I'm quite optimistic that using just these few gameplay mechanics, there can also be, there can already be something that is fun. This is kind of the scope that I want. What kinds of needs will the citizens have? Well, right now they have money and they needed to spend that on products and food. They will have additional needs like health. Education will help them to get better jobs, and they will enjoy it if they are close to, for example, parks or other stuff where they can get entertainment or just relax. What did I do with all these buildings names that I let you wrote? I still have them in this huge Google document, and I hope pretty soon I will actually add them to the game, and when a building is created it will actually get a name from that list. Yes, there will be goods created by farms and lorries that drive them to whoever needs them, as well as like trucks that drive industrial goods to commercial and so on. Tropical weather option, yes, as soon as there is stuff that kind of depends on weather, there will be of course different kinds of weather. Ploppable buildings, no. Like my stance on that for the vanilla game is like nothing will be ploppable, even service buildings will be procedural generated, and instead of plopping a service building you will designate a special kind of zone, for example for a police department. But mods will be able to allow ploppable buildings, of course. Are the graphics still placeholder? Yes, it's very minimal, but I would like to keep the style while making it more detailed in the long run. The comparison I've used for that is Mirror's Edge, that has this kind of really stylized, abstract representation of the city, but it still has like realistic shadows and lighting, so it both looks realistic but has this nice and clean aesthetic to it. That's kind of my goal for that. Something like broken bridges that affects traffic, that would be nice, of course, because it would force you to build a functioning traffic infrastructure that can handle things like that. How big will the building variety be for the first release? I don't know. I guess probably like one building type for each density and zone type. If I have time I will do more, of course. What currency will the game use? I don't know. I didn't decide on that. If you have some crazy ideas for names or symbols, let me know. As a writer, I guess you mean can you create your own buildings as mods? Yes, you can definitely do so. Priceless man, what do you mean with show some? Please, if you have question, like give me more context, because I don't know, because of the stream delay, what exactly you're referring to. When buildings are built, will their lots fit together so there's no gaps? Yes, I hope to do that really soon. It's kind of hard to do for curved roads. I will have to come up with some intelligent system to create non-rectangular lots, but this is definitely a goal. The game could be more like you are the mayor and get paid. Yes, but what I really want to do is like you are this godlike, omnipotent, omniscient being that kind of is the whole city department at once. I like prefer this kind of gameplay for city builders compared to the strictly tycoon gameplay where you're actually like almost the CEO of the city. Will there be real world buildings in the game? As I said earlier, probably not. Even landmarks will be procedural, so they will be unique, but mods will allow for maybe ploppable real world landmarks. Have you played Transport Tycoon games? I think the only one that I have really played a lot that qualifies as that is the original A-Train 3, I think, and I really like that, but other than that I don't think I really like them, but I will of course try some of them more as research for Citybound. Alright. How about you think of some more questions? I will do a short bathroom break. Feel free to do the same. Then I will be back for some more questions and then we will continue with development. So see you in a few minutes. So you kind of decided on Ian's. Yeah, maybe Ian's. I have to think about that. J Bruder, I don't remember your email about the April Fools prank. What was it about? Will there be simulated countries or states in which your cities will lie? Yeah, kind of. I don't know what exactly the influence of the kind of yeah, what influence the countries have over your city, like I guess which political system they have, and that will change some like environmental parameters of the city. I like the way Ian sounds, but I think the symbol for it, like I think you can get used to it, but at first glance it doesn't really look like a currency model. For example, in SimCity they have simoleons, right, and it almost looks like the dollar symbol, so even someone who's new to the game knows that that's supposed to be the currency, and I don't think that works that well with Ian's. Will citizens ever be able to set up their own shelters or slums? Yes, that would be nice, like to have homeless people or kind of semi-homeless people or slums. What's planned for multi-zone buildings? How will it work? Well, there's already a residential and commercial combined zone, which will... Oh, we can actually have a look at that now. So let's go somewhere where we don't have our experimental pollution stuff. So if you look here, you have this kind of combined zone. And let's hope we actually have enough demand for that. And it creates these buildings where there's like a shop in the ground floor, and above that residential. So you can have mixed zones as well as buildings that contain mixed things. So here you can see there's a worker household as well as a mixed shop and another worker household. So mixed use buildings already work. I'm stupid, I didn't show the game. You just watched my face. Wait, let me do that again. I'm sorry, I'm bad at the streaming thing. Let me build that again. So now you should see the game, right? Here, let me use the zone for residential and commercial. Wait a little bit, and here is what I told you about the mixed use buildings with both worker households and a shop inside them. Alright, now you saw it. Yeah, sorry about not changing the view. I will have to get used to that. Okay, let me try to read some of the other questions. Okay, J Bruder, I think I remember your mail now. Will there be wall-to-wall buildings and pedestrian streets to create something like Venice? Yes, that is definitely a goal, to have nice wall-to-wall buildings and like European style city blocks and pedestrian streets as well. How difficult was it to get the first prototype of the game working? Zoning and stuff. Well, zoning actually came in like pretty late. The first prototype only had like buildings that were created on the start of the game, or like when you press the button. And actually the biggest part of the prototype, of the initial prototype, was traffic simulation, because of the game, both performance wise and implementation wise. So that's what I did first, to kind of get the most difficult thing out of the way, or to get at least the first version of that going. That's what the prototype was all about. How big do you think cities will be? Impossible to say. My goal is something like 50 by 50 kilometers and like millions of population. In SimCity there are plots or buildings with driveways that were never connected to the street. Yes, there in Citybound the driveways will connect to the closest street. Please implement some challenging thing. Yes, of course, that is like the cornerstone of gameplay. Of course there will be money. I think in the first version there won't even be money, because it kind of forces me to try out additional other challenges. For example, just getting a city layout that works with all the kinds of influences that the different zone types have working. This is a challenge in itself, and I want to make that as interesting as possible. I want to make transportation and traffic as big as a challenge and as interesting as possible. So for me, money is kind of just the last challenge that you add on top of all these other interesting mechanics. Can you talk about procedurally generated buildings? What exactly do you want to know about them, Aknar? How will designing parks work? There will be a zone for park. There will be a zone for parks, and inside there procedurally like trees and other natural elements will pop up, and you can just draw pedestrian paths through them and maybe near the paths automatically benches or stuff like that will be created. That's how I imagine parks will be. Do I consider house moving for citizens? Yes, that would be nice if they actually try to find a house near their job. Will buildings like factories have parking lots where you can actually see the cars? Yes, that would be nice. It shouldn't be too difficult because all cars are actually simulated all the time anyways, regardless if they're on a road, so they could just be placed on a parking lot. When buildings are created, will the buildings that are next to them have a similar look? That's kind of an interesting question and something that I've been thinking about myself, because right now the procedural building generation is just completely random, like every building looks different. But of course that's not how it works in real cities. In real cities, of course, you have randomness, but there's like blocks of buildings that have been created at the same time or even were designed by the same architect. So I will try to come up with something that kind of balances the randomness but also adds some similarity to buildings. If you're doing AI for millions of people, how will it scale? Well,